Halo pagi, Pak Afrizal. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all of the participants. Good morning to all of the presenter, and good morning to the committee of ICGCS of 2021. First, before we start the presentation, please, for the presenter, rename your Zoom name with presenter _ your name. So it will be clear for me to choose who will presentate their paper. All right. For today, we have 4 presenters that will be presented their paper. The first one is Pak Afrizal, and the next is Bu Eli Maliha, then Bu Anita Afriani Sinulinga, and Bu Sartika Sosilowati. For the rules of the presentation is each of the participants have a time of 10 minutes to present their paper, their presentation, and 5 minutes Q&A sessions. For Q&A session, the participant or the attendee in this room can type their question in the Zoom chat box. So I will read it to the participant, so the participant will answer it. And then for the presenter, please remember that you only have 10 minutes to present your paper because we have on schedule here. I will inform you via Zoom chat box if you have 1 minute left to present your paper. So then we will start our first presentation, which is from Mr. Afrizal. Mr. Afrizal, are you there?
Yes, I'm. Who could share the screen?
Okay. Operator, could you help to share Mr. Afrizal? Okay.
Screen.
Yes, it will be shared, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much for the time. We are free to present the paper, Bima, I myself, and then Lofi, then Siska. I will present first, then will be continued by Ofi, then by Siska. This is not our paper.
All right, if you're ready, Mr. Afrizal, we will start the presentation. Start now, and we will start the time countdown when you speak.
Could you share my screen, please, my PPT?
Okay, maybe operator, could you help to share the presentation slide?
I think we have submitted our PPT to the committee.
Yes, sir. We will try to share the your presentation.
Okay. Could you make it full screen? Next, please. Next, please. Okay. So this is the topic of our presentation. We are free to present the paper. I will do it first, then we'll continue by by Ovi, then by Siska. Next slide, please. So we would like to present our research about the analysis of oil palm conflict from gender perspective. Now, from gender perspective, we would like to pay attention to the different involvement of men and women in resolving palm oil conflict, and we will answer these two questions. To what extent do women and men involved in land conflict resolution? To what extent do women and men benefit from land conflict resolution? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we use the theory of gender-sensitive conflict analysis. Based on this theory, we pay attention on different involvement of men and women, and we pay attention on what people plan, strategy, and actors of conflict, achievement of conflict resolution, beneficiaries of outcome of the resolution. And we use our case study of 150s palm conflict occurred between 2010 and 19 over the land conversion for oil palm plantation in 4 provinces. Then we will show 2 case studies to show how gender involvement affect enjoyment of conflict resolution outcome. Next, please. Next, please. Ovi, could you do that? Ovi, could you come back to the previous slide, please?
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Rizal. Result. Why rural Indonesia are complaining about palm oil companies? Next, we found 8 different types of complaint in 4 provinces. The most common complaint is that the land is taken as much as 6%. The hike is in Central Kalimantan, Riau, West Sumatra, and West Kalimantan. What communities do? Then we also found that there were 8 types of protests carried out by the community. There are 3 types of protests that are mostly carried out, namely demonstration, hearing publics, facilitation, and press conference as much as 63%. The land occupation or blockades as much as 45%. Next. Next. Next.
Okay, stop. Okay.
Next.
Okay.
Next. Who are complaints? Of the 85 studied, representative with general male. This can be seen in the table. Male individual village, male labor unions. Then there are also NGO that sell the company in general. NGO leaders are also men. Next. Okay, achievements. There are 5 achievements generated 38%, not at all successful. 30% little are success, some 19%, mostly 11%, and 1% more fully successful. Okay, continued by Siska.
Thank you, Ovi. About the results in here who benefit from the achievements. There are two case studies. This paper, the first is one Pangan people in district Kuantan Singingi of Riau province. And the second, we use Kapau village community in Pasaman Barat of West Sumatra. About demands in here, Pangan one return of 400 hectares land. In Kapa, one transfer of plasma plantation and cancel HGU application. In actors to community in here, Pangan used 212 farmers, all are women. In Kapa, plasma, do men and women. About HGU application, do 11 customary leaders and one non-customary leader, all are women. Next, please. Okay, about achievements in here, Pangan 225 hectares of plasma plantation. In Kapa, the second, the one 600 hectare plasma plantation, and two customary land recognized, three Kappa, one fee of previous land use of 1.2 billion rupiah, and the last 25 million rupiah per month of fee of land use after the agreement. Next. Okay, about beneficiaries to community in here, Pangan 212 people who are involved in the resolution, all are women. In Kapa, plasma plantation recipients are groups which their membership identity is a member of a kinship groups, do 60% women and 30% men. And the last fee in Kapa, fee is shared by customary leaders who are men. Now, thank you. The next presentation, back to Professor Afrizal, please. Professor? Professor Afrizal, please. Still mute.
Sorry. So what our studies show is that what we call it masculinization of land use change conflict resolution. People who are involved in the resolution, generally speaking, are men rather than women. People who get the benefit from the achievement of conflict resolutions are men rather than men. That is the important finding we have. And we argue that masculinization of land use change conflict resolution is as a result of gender relation pertaining to land ownership, or the land disputed customary land, and customary land tenure is a male bias. So according to the customary rules, people who have authority over the land are men, and men are involved in the resolution, and men take the benefit of the resolution. I think that is our main conclusion of the study. Next slide, please. Do we still have a slide? Okay, that's all, Bima. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Afrizal and our presenter. So we will now start the Q&A session. We encourage all of the participants or the other presenter today to give the question or give their insight about the previous presentation. that given by Pak Afrizal. You can type the question in the Zoom chat box that I will read your questions. So, or maybe you could unmute your mic to ask the question directly. So is there any question or any other insight about the previous presentation given by Mr. Afrizal? Is anyone want to give a question? Once again, that we really encourage. Yes, Mrs. Mariam Jamila is raising her hand.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Bima. I would like to ask one question. I'm curious about, so what are the authors suggesting related to this case? From the discussion, you can see that there is inequality and a lack of women participation and the conflict. So if women want to get the benefit of the lands conflicts, so do women have to struggle too, like a man did? So what are the suggestion for this conflict, for this phenomenon? So a woman get or the benefits of the use of the land itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mariam Jamila. Maybe we will give the opportunity of Mr. Afrizal to answer the question that asked first.
Because this trend is caused by gender bias in land tenure system, and this is very difficult to change. What we suggest is that any NGOs involved or any community leaders involved should involve both men and women in the struggle. I think there must be something that women can do, and men is not good in that. And because of that, I think when they get achievements, then women and men are discuss each other how to share the achievement, because the struggle are dominated by men, and the discussion about how to share and what to share is among men. This is the way why what we call is masculinization of land use conflict achievement, enjoyment occurred in many provinces we studied.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Afrizal. I hope those answered your question, Mrs. Mariam Jamila. Next, I see here Mrs. Sri Vianti Ediono is raising her hand. Please, Ms. Sri Vianti, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm so sorry I couldn't open my camera because the network is so bad. So I just want to thank you for the presentations. I think that is very important, these findings here about the issues of gender in land tenure conflict. I wonder if there is an impact directly from the absence of gender perspective or women participations. What is the result that can by the lack of the women participations in this particular conflict? Is there any real situation happen to women that difference with the men? So thank you, Pak Afrizal, and time is yours now.
Should I share it now, Bima?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Afrizal.
Thank you very much for the questions. Very interesting question. What we found is that the absence of women in conflict resolution caused the absence of women in the enjoyment of the results. And this is the effect. The results are enjoyed by men the most. So in this situation, the way women can share the benefit only become a wife of man. So our question is, what about a female-headed household? What about elderly women who are not married? So I think the next research is needed to answer the question. What happened with a female-headed household in the community when what happened to the female-headed household and unmarried women? Our study is not clear enough about that. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Afrizal. But once again, I think the time is up for your presentation and Q&A session. I think that is a very interesting discussion about the gender and the link between the conflict resolution and the women that impacted, because what happened in this Mr. Afrizal case, that the one who get benefited is mostly men. So next we will have our
Thank
next.
you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Afrizal. Now we will move to our next presenter, which is Miss Eli Maliha. Miss Eli Maliha is here. All right, Miss Eli Eliha, you are ready to present your paper?
Ready.
Yes. Okay. The time is start when you start talking. So the time is yours.
Sorry, but this is not my PowerPoint.
All right. Please, operator. I think you should change the presentation. I believe the Mrs. Eli Maliha presentation is named "The Woman Involvement in Terrorism." Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you share it to the chat box, please, Miss Eli Maria? Because I don't see your PowerPoint in the G Drive.
Sorry.
Please wait.
Okay. Wait. This is my title.
Okay, I will share it now. Sorry, I apologize for this.
It's okay.
Okay, Miss Eli Maliha, is the slideshow is correct?
That's correct.
All right, you can start now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, everybody. I'm Puspita. I'm representing Prof. Eli Maliha. She is a presenter in another seminar. I hope I can present it well. This is article based on our research on the involvement of women in terrorism case. There are another thing in a woman that are interesting to discuss, something about faith, submission of the woman, sincerity for the family. Next, please. In the introduction, you can see, but wait. A question comes up about the misconception of the women's involvement terrorist case which involves the family. Various interpretation comes up as an attempt to apply the goal and belief towards what is supposed to achieve and finish to exception by deconstruction perception about the same strife in common. Various perception about terrorists which involvement in a woman appears to the public. One side consider the woman has been away from feminine socially and spiritually. The other side observe that the woman with maternal can be deadly and promise executor of the success of terror which has been planned. So it is not about a question what makes the woman do so, but more about a push factor that the women obtain so that they can trust their ability and to the religion which is belief. There is also self-actualization as the new woman who can find and apply what is supposed to do as a woman. The last thing, this article displays another from the women's fight about what is believed and supposed to life about various consequences of the concept is self-existence from the religion that is convinced and about the women portion in a struggle to prove the equality in the strife. Please next. There are three research questions in this article. How is the form of a woman's contribution is a terrorist case that involvement the family? 2, how does the woman internalize the value of and religion belief in the deciding to the part of the act of terror? And the last, how is the attempt to de-radicalization of the woman in the family of the former terrorist prisoner through education institution? Please next. This is the research method in this article. There are qualitative approach, phenomenology design, membership and the religious community and the social community, and the family of former terrorist prisoner in the West Java. Please next. First, the form of women's contribution in the act of terrorism who involves the family. The woman, please next, sorry. The woman has an important role in actualization the religious value in the family. Founding the articles, the researchers, there are three typologies of the former terrorist prisoner's wife in this study. 1, the wife who does not know all the if his husband get involved in the act of terrorism. Mr. Please next. Yes. Second, you can see the wife who finds out the husband's involvement in the act of terrorism but not taking part actively on it. And the 3, the wife who knows the husband's involvement in the act of terrorism and taking part actively on it. The phenomenon that occurs to the woman who does not involve in the act of terrorism even though their husband involved actively is those who give moral support in keeping a good reputation in the name of family. Please next. Second, there are the women attempt to internalize the religious faith and value in the deciding to be part of the terrorist act. Please next. There are 3 things. 1, the strength, passion, and fight in the what This tenet of God become an interesting part in exposing the terrorist case. And so there are self-fight in the woman heart that is about passion and sincerely. And the three accompanying sounds like a happy narration for our ears and minds as the researcher in exposing the phenomenon of the woman's involvement in the terrorist case that involves the family. Please, next. In the end, the terrorist issue, the woman's involvement in the act of terrorism no longer becomes national responsibility and law enforcement, but it is supposed to be our responsibility as a nation and as an ethic religion of whatever is this. The three. It's about the attempt to the radicalization that is carried out to the women in the family of a former terrorist prisoner through an education institution. Please, next. The education institution provides a funding to the women and family, especially in implementing God religion awareness. The family or a married couple who has good education background will role as the spreader the ideas or ism that is convinced by their crowd. Please, next. The religion group through the religion activity exclusively are believed to become applies in spreading the religion ideas that direct to radicalism and terrorism. The women in the radical religious group is given a comprehension to believe and have a fight their role and function, and the woman is to abide the husband. You can see this phenomenon of the woman's involvement. Please, next. We can see the phenomenon and the woman involvement in the terrorist case if this study brings us to the new fact related to the woman's paradigm in making a decision. There is a belief in religion devoting to what is believed as a way of life, religion and choice to be wife, and it is out of form what, who, and how the condition is. It's all for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Now we open to the Q&A session. Once again, you can type the question in the Zoom chat box or you can raise your hand. Yes, I see one of the participants is raising her hand. Mrs. Sartika, please, the time is yours. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sartika, I believe you not unmute your mic. Please mute your mic.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. I think your topic is very interesting due to the involvement of women in terrorism. They usually very masculine sector. Yeah. So my question: how do you see this women involvement by the radicalization of other members of the family? Are they merely as a victim, or are they really able to some kind of self-liberation, or they are mainly as a predator, or they have a very significant role in terms of to contribute the how do you call the development of terrorism? So how do you see this kind of action that was doing by women?
Thank you for the question, Mrs. Sartika. I think you can answer it.
Okay.
Mrs. Ellie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Satika. Yes, Miss, they are significant role. That's right. And gini. Can I speak Indonesian?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Benar, Mr. Satika, memang ini banyak sekali apa ya namanya, banyak sekali hal yang dapat dipertimbangkan oleh perempuan untuk menjadi seorang teroris. Di awal ada 3 tipologi dan kebetulan kami menemui ketiga-tiganya. Untuk yang benar-benar terjun ke sampai mengikuti aksi ke suaminya itu ternyata basicnya memang kepercayaan, just trust and apa namanya, cuma kepercayaan, kepatuhan, dan mereka percaya bahwa mengikuti suami adalah jalan menuju surga. Cuma itu aja. Jadi, oke.
Mungkin bisa saya tambahkan pertanyaan saya, maksudnya bagaimana Anda melihat mereka? Apakah mereka itu hanya sebagai victim atau sebagai truly preparator atau perempuan yang mampu melakukan liberalisasi dirinya, self liberalization, dan apakah mereka juga memberi kontribusi yang signifikan begitu dalam aktivitas terorisme, atau hanya di bagian sebagai apa ya, ada dalang di belakangnya, sebetulnya bukan perempuan. Jadi mereka itu hanya pelakon aja. Bagaimana menurut Anda?
Dalam penelitian ini, Miss Sartika, kebetulan memang perempuan-perempuan yang kami temui itu memang yang memiliki peran. Jadi dia memang ingin menunjukkan dirinya bahwa saya juga punya peran di dalam penegakan agama dalam tanda kutip. Seperti itu. Jadi tidak ada yang kami temui ini kebetulannya yang memang ada dalangnya seperti itu. Mereka memang menginginkan untuk apa ya? Mengeksistensikan dirinya gitu dalam kepercayaan yang memang sudah terbentuk sebelumnya. Seperti itu.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Sartika.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Sartika. I think we will open to one more question, but I think we should write it past. Please, Mrs. Sri Wiyanti Ediono, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Actually, it is a very interesting topic for me. I wonder whether Bu Eli can also explain what is the process that happens to them, because I think they have become, martyr in the terrorism. I wonder, because if we look at to the perspective of gender, we need to look at to not only the existing situations, right? But we also need to look at to the backgrounds of them, and then how is the process so they become in the positions to support on terrorism. Is there any similar process what happens to the men who involved in terrorism? I'm thinking, I wonder about this, whether your research also looking at to the more the backgrounds, the process, and then the second question is related to whether you think there is a possibility for them to, shift, what Ibu Kartika asked before is about the how they perceive themselves, and is there any possibility for them to change their belief as well, or to become part of the not supporting anymore, but to counter the terrorism, because I just found out that there are cases as well, those who are supporting the terrorism, it also can be changed and shifting into the counter terrorism. Do you think that there is a possibility for that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Mrs. Sri Wiyanti. But I hope the presenter read the answer, because we will move to the next presenter. Thank you.
Oke. Oh, bingung saya jawabnya. Ya benar.
Yang penting mungkin proses menjadi seperti itu seperti apa ya, sama nggak dengan yang laki-laki ya? Terus yang kedua juga apakah ada kemungkinan mereka bisa berubah gitu untuk tidak selalu mendukung, tapi juga ada dinamika bahwa sebetulnya mereka juga tidak mendukung tapi juga menolak sebetulnya terorisme itu.
Oke. Thank you, Miss Riwiyanti. Untuk pendidik gimana background mereka biasanya ada dalam kelompok-kelompok keagamaan yang sifatnya eksklusif. Keikutsertaan mereka ini didasari karena memang pada awalnya laki-laki duluan memang yang ikut serta lalu mengajak si istrinya ini. Tapi ternyata setelah terjun dalam kelompok-kelompok tersebut, perempuan punya jiwa apa? Jiwa yang dalam tanda kutip mungkin ya lebih memimpin gitu, lebih dapat menginternalisasi nilai-nilai mungkin mulai dalam konsep ini radikalisme itu sendiri gitu. Nah, untuk perempuan di sini ketika memang dia tidak setuju, dia lebih memilih diam, Miss. Jadi di awal tadi ada 3 tipologi, dia tahu suaminya termasuk dalam kelompok teroris. Jadi dia lebih memilih diam. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, dia mendukung tapi tidak terlibat dalam aksi terornya, tapi dia mendukung, menyiapkan segala macamnya seperti itu. Yang ketiga, yaitu tadi dia ikut dalam aksinya.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mrs. Eli Maliha. Next, we will move to our next presenter, which is Mrs. Anita Afriani Sinulinga. Mrs. Afriani Sinulinga, you are ready?
Sure, Ms. Bima.
Yes. Then we will start your presentation. The time will start when you start talking. Okay, thank you. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bapak Moderator, for having me this opportunity. As seen in Zoom screen, the title of my presentation is More Than Victims, the Role of Women in Conflict Zones. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Anita Afriani Sinulinga, and I come from Andalas University. Next slide, please. Okay, I will divide my presentation into 4 sections. The first one is introduction. I would like to explain why should women involved in peace process, and the second is women as victim of conflict. I will describe fact and current condition about women in the wake of war, and the third is global agenda, United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325. This is international instrument that support the participation of women in peace operation. And the last one, I will explain about women's role in conflict resolution. It will divide it into 4 part, which is preventive diplomacy, peacemaking, peacekeeping, and the last one is peace building. Next, please. Okay. Research shows that women are deeply committed to peace building and post-conflict reconstruction and have a unique perspective and a solid understanding of the need of their communities. Women tend to have more inclusive leadership style, which promote consensus in negotiation. Women also are adept at working across divided, whether they may be religious, ethnic, political, and cultural. Women also have access that men don't. For example, to other women are seen to be less threatening and to be influential within their families and their communities. Next, please. In fact, women still as a victim in the wake of war. The number are absolutely horrifying and sad. For example, 20,000 and 50,000 until 500,000 women and girls were raped during the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. In Bosnia, in the early 1990s, 20,000 until 50,000 women and girl also became the victim of rape. The next in Sierra Leone, 50,000 until 64,000 sexually attacked against women and girl. It is estimated that more than 200,000 women and children have been raped over more than a decade of conflict in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Unfortunately, out of 300 peace agreement over 20 years since the end of the Cold War, only 18 have addressed sexual violence in 10 conflict situations. Next slide, please. Okay, the way that the war are being waged have changed over time with devastating result for women, children, and other civilians. Civilian account for the vast majority of victims in contemporary wars, those least empowered suffer most. Women and girls are targeted as a tactic of war to humiliate, dominate, punish, disperse, and possibly relocate member of a community or ethnic groups. Next slide, please. Okay, this is international agenda under United Nations. It is United Nations Security Council 1325. This resolution was the first United Nations Security Council resolution to link the peace and security agenda. It was adopted unanimously on October 31st, 2000. 1325 recognized that women are disproportionately affected by conflict. It calls for their active participation at all levels of decision-making in conflict prevention, conflict resolution, peace process, and so on and so forth. Next, please. 1325 also called for the participation of women at all levels of decision-making, including in national, regional, and international institutions, in mechanism for prevention, management, and resolution of conflict, also in peace negotiation, in peace operation as soldier, police, and civilian, and the last one as special representative of the UN Secretary General. UNSCR 1325 recognized the connection between the participation of women and sustainable peace. Those resolutions provide a political framework and outlines goal for making women participation and a gender perspective relevant to all aspects of conflict prevention, management, and resolution. Again, sadly, the fact is, despite the existence of a number of instruments, international instruments such as a series of UN resolution issues by the United Nations Security Council, but women have by and large been excluded from peace and security operation. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide hopefully could be give a positive vision that women also have a vital contribution in peace process in the wake of war. I will divide it into the woman role into peace building, preventive diplomacy, peacemaking, and peacekeeping. Next slide, please. Okay. Women as agent of preventive diplomacy. Preventive diplomacy defined as an action to prevent dispute from arising between parties, to prevent existing dispute from escalating into conflict and limit the spread of the latter when they occur. As the example of the first stages of conflict resolution, I can say the Burundian Women Peace Conference. There is a woman group in Burundi that have been fully encouraged by Nelson Mandela. Through its presence in government institutions at 30%, this institution prepare regulation that protect the interests of women and children after the civil war in Burundi and stayed in the Arusha Peace Accord. The other example in preventive diplomacy is a women group in Marsabit, Kenya, playing a role in water resource management when people access to the water is very minimal. Next slide, please. The second is women as agent of peacekeeping. Peacekeeping is a stage of conflict resolution that stop or reduce act of violence or absence of direct violence. Women leadership characterize this stage in Liberia for the grassroots level to the presidency, who play a crucial role in the right-based national reform and the election of woman president John Sirleaf. Next, please.
Mrs. Anita, I'm sorry, you still have 30 seconds left, so write it fast. Thank you.
Okay. Women as agent of peacekeeping. The example I can give for this role is happen in Indonesia through activity of Mama Papa Lele and duet Pakat Inong Aceh in Aceh, Nangro Aceh Darussalam. And the last one is the role of women. Next, please. And the last one is the role of women in peace building process is like what women in Rwanda do contribute to rehabilitation and reconstruction process initiated and promoted by the government by constructing houses, their own houses by themselves. Next, please. So the conclusion of this presentation, I believe that women as a both victim of war, but also women can as the agent of peace. Women also as equal partner in peace to the another agent of peace. But the role of women in conflict resolution is more temporarily rather than systemic. In fact, I hope women make vital contribution to society, but their participation in making important decisions about peace and security at the peace table is unrepresented. That's all my presentation. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you, Mrs. Anita. So we still have time for Q&A session. So those of the participants who want to ask a question can type the question in the Zoom chat box or raise your hand and unmute your mic if you want to ask the question of this presentation. So is there any question from the participant that want to ask to the previous presentation? Yes, Mrs. Sartika, the time is yours.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation, Ibu Anita.
Thank you, Ibu.
I would like to know your opinion. You mentioned about there is no systematic effort that will be done quite enough to encourage women to involve in conflict resolution. But you know that United Nations through Security Council already issue several policy to elevate, women involvement in peacekeeping force, and even Indonesia through Foreign Ministry, Ibu Marsudi is quite strong enough to increase the number of Indonesian female troop in peacekeeping force, Indonesian peacekeeping force. So, how do you see this good phenomena for women, especially to encourage women to involve in conflict resolution, humanitarian efforts, and also especially in peacekeeping efforts?
Okay, thank you for your question, Ibu Sartika. Can I answer the question, Bapak Moderator?
Of course, Mrs. Anita, you can answer the question.
Okay,
Thank you.
I tried to give comment to your answer, Ibu. I can say that the number of women who participate in peace process in systematic way is not much. I can say that. I mean, in systemic way is contribution women in peace negotiation, in domestic transition, and also in long-term political process in a country. Yes, it's true that women giving many vital contribution to society in the wake of war, but they lack of contribution in political ways.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Anita.
Thank you. Seems like Mrs. Sri Wiyanti is raising her hand, but my sincere apology that the time is up, so we are really sorry. Yes, yeah, but we still we need to keep to the schedule. I'm really sorry once again, Mrs. Sri Wiyanti Ediono. Okay. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Anita Afriani. Then we move to the next presenter, which is Mrs. Sartika Susilowati. Mrs. Sartika Susilowati, you are ready?
Thank you, moderator.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you
yes, we will share the slideshow. Is this your presentation?
I don't
Mrs.
think that
Sartika?
this is the no. This is not my PPT. I think that's right. Yeah.
This one is not correct. Is this correct?
Yeah, I think this is correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moderator, Mas Bima.
Okay, you can start.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I am pleased to join this panel, and I think the previous presentation already covered some of material that I would like to discuss today. So my name is Sartika Susilowati from Program Studi Gender Inklusi dan Sosial Airlangga University Surabaya. I would like to discuss about gender mainstreaming policy for women protection and empowerment in social conflict. So if you see the picture of girls who carry her sibling, actually he is the victim of social conflict between Sunni and Shia 8 years ago. And these displaced persons are still living in temporary accommodation in Sidoarjo. Yeah. So next, please, next. Next, there is an urgency to examine the program for protection and empowerment in social conflict in country like Indonesia. What I mean by social conflict is basically conflict between communities or group, and this is not typically conflict between state or between state and the group of rebellion. So it's typically horizontal conflict. So on October 31st, 2000, the UN Security Council agreed to adopt resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, and recognize the impact of unique gender-based conflict on women and children urge state to increase the participation of women in conflict resolution, peace negotiation, peace building, peacekeeping, humanitarian response, and post-conflict resolution. It is similar with the previous presentation. And this has become a mechanism, strategy to promote global norms, especially norms on women's rights, and the recognition of gender justice in countries that still do not fully practice these norms. And at this moment, in a part of the world, women and children as the party who bears the most risk and burden to social conflict. You see on the television the Taliban victims, mostly women and children. So United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees reports that around 70% of 82.4 million people in the world who have been forced into internally displaced or states are women and children. And there is a unique gender-based effect of conflict on women. The condition of war and conflict often exacerbate gender inequality in various forms in society that women are often vulnerable to being victim. So if we look at Indonesia, Indonesia has various conflicts. They are still going on and potential conflict that can erupt to be violence in any time. So Tim Penanganan Konflik Sosial, TIMDU, at the national level, note that in 2018 until 2019, there have been 71 incidents of social conflict in various provinces. And data in 3,500 villages, or 3.75% of the total 84,000 villages in Indonesia, are prone to social conflict and become an arena for mass violence or fighting. So beginning on 2014, the Indonesian government issued a regulation on perlindungan dan pemberdayaan perempuan dalam konflik sosial, or P3AKS, or in English, the Protection and Empowerment of Women and Children in Conflict Social. Then several regulations, including its national action planning, have been declared to support P3AKS. Next. Next, please. So in regard to this policy and regulation, some question how and to what extent are the Indonesian government policy and regulation and capable of being implemented in the region? How and to what extent is the local government authority applying P3AKS? And what are the challenges to implementing this gender mainstreaming regulation? And I assume that the result is mixed. What I mean by mixed? Well, there is a strong rhetoric here. There is a claim for local apparatus, but also there are still strong gaps and weaknesses due to various issues. So in terms of the research method, this study used qualitative and quantitative research methods. It also combined primary data and secondary data. In terms of primary respondent of this study, including the head of district or major, head of the department of Kepala Dinas, or key official related to P3AKS policies and program in the 3 districts of the East Java, namely Blitar, Sampang, and Tuban. We choose the 3 districts with quite significant reason. So next. So I would like to highlight the significance of state as an agent in developing mainstreaming gender and gender equality. Next, please. The state holds a key position in ending conflict and creating peace and maintaining the security of its citizens, including women and children in its territory. The government, with its potential capacity and authority, should be party most capable of resolving conflicts. Moreover, country has obligation to adopt the international agreements for P3AKS. However, there are weaknesses in the state efficiency, according to some reports and numerous case study research. Next, please. The timeline of the Indonesian policy and protection empowerment women and children in P3AKS. Yeah? If we look into the timeline, it's already been almost 10 years or seen the regulation followed by national explain and has been issued by governments. But it's hardly seen that local government have adopted and then implemented this regulation and national action plan. Well, only few provinces we are declared to adopt and to implement it, but still their program and action need to be examined thoroughly. In other words, there is still no special attention to women and children in conflict relation. Next. So we move to result and finding in the 3 regions, namely Blitar, Sampang, and Tuban. From the result of interview, next please, FGD among the official and field trip to 3 districts, we found that, next please, the local apparatus has already shown their commitment to protect and empowerment women and children, and they declare their support to P3AKS. They also promise to implement national regulation, and they plan to follow up with action and program in the field. Next. However, we are also finding gaps, challenges, and weakness, which we consider can categorize in 3 issues. Firstly, is limitation of local bureaucratic system. The structure and organization in the districts do not give the local apparatus the authority to pay attention to and work on the P3AKS. The bureaucratic machine works in the main tasks that they have been set as business as usual. Meanwhile, gender mainstreaming is regarded as a relative new concept that was not previously considered. An additional organization such as a working group of P3AKS or Pokja P3AKS, which will be installed in the existing bureaucracy machinery, is considered to be burdensome for agency. Such working group with a new paradigm is also perceived as a disrupting the district existency. Moreover, an organ such as Pokja P3AKS should ideally be inclusive, involving various related parties beyond their own institution. However, there are difficulties in establishing the inclusiveness of the P3AKS working group. One of the obstacles is the character of the sectoral group, which exists in each department.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Sartika, your time is 1 minute left, so please write it fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
So secondly is financial constraint. And then I agree that the problem is not focused mainly on lack of funding because there is already regulation, but mainly how they really want to allocate. Yeah. The third is issue of lack capacity of gender mainstreaming among the local apparatus in social conflict. So to conclude, evaluating this epidemic, the priority must be taken to empower the official authority to have gender awareness and at the same time to strengthen the institutions of P3AKS organ and program. Officials need to increase their gender awareness through, among others, such as dissemination or elevating their capacity building. So without such basic knowledge and better understanding of gender mainstreaming of P3AKS, officials would find it difficult to establish and navigate P3AKS in the region. So I finished the presentation and I hand it back to the chair. Thank you very much. Please welcome for the question.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sartika, for the presentation. So once again, I encourage participants to ask. Yes, there is a question from Mrs. Meli Noviriani. The time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bima. Good. I think it's good.
Hello.
Hello, Bu Sartika.
Mbak Meli,
Hi.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Very interesting presentation because this is also issues that I'm concerned also. Bu Sartika, you already have already present very interesting research and so what is your suggestion as the best or the adequate strategies to implement or to integrate these women peace and security agenda as a global agenda that is in our national level become the RAN P3AKS into the lowest level of governance, because gender mainstreaming policies in general still have difficulties to be implemented. It is not easy to empower bureaucracies, empower the local governments, local governance also to implement gender mainstreaming. So what can we expect from them if we try to integrate these peran P3 AKS to the lowest level of governance? I think that's my question, Bu Sartika.
Thank you very much, Mbak Meli. It is quite intriguing question. You know, I think we have a lot of mechanism to encourage that the P3 AKS program will work better, because it already been like 10 years, almost 8 years since the president issued the regulation. But we know that even in East Java, with female government, she doesn't pay attention enough, even only to, you know, to build Pokja P3 AKS as a starter forum, to encourage P3 AKS program. So I think first we have to, when you asking what kind of strategy, I think from my experience engaging with the authorities, I think we need to, push them, hardly on doing their homework. You know that we are outside of the government, we cannot just interfere, but I think we can push them, and aware that this is a really important issue. I already done in 3 districts, in Tuban, in Blitar, and Sampang. In the beginning, it's very, very hard, to convince them that it is very important to set up Pokja. It is very important to include the program of P3 AKS and the annual program and budget. But we never give up, and with many many promise that what you're doing, it is important to increase your performance, to increase your rate, in the national level. So I think this one way, we have to push them very hard with many mechanisms, and don't be disappointing in the beginning. And the second, I think we have to use, I don't know, as the marking, because the official like rating,
like competition,
rating. So we need to put the requirement P3 AKS in the rating for the national, that every region need to increase the rating by including the P3 AKS program. So it is one way, I think, to encourage the authority. If you concern the mechanism, how the regulation put in place in the region, because with autonomy, it's very difficult for even the minister, because it's the P3 AKS, it's domain from the Minister Menteri Pemberdayaan dan
protection.
Pemberdayaan, dan there is a different kind of ministry, including the Pemberdayaan Perempuan and PKMK, KPM, Kominfo. So there is Kominfo, koordinasi, minister koordinasi. So there is different kind of a minister that involved. So they already make a regulation, but it's hard to put, the regulation to be implemented in the region because the autonomy daerah.
So So we need another reward, right? Like
I do hope that my answer.
So you think we need another?
That's exactly like
Like APE in PUG.
Yeah,
right?
rating. Yeah, award. So they really put effort quite a lot, yeah, to implement the program. Otherwise, they don't care about how to empower and to protect women when, you know, in the social conflict social. I give the example during the Kavatar case. Yeah, there are many Kavatar people. They back to their home. Some in Blitar, some in Tuban. The local authority doesn't have money, doesn't have funding to relocate them. So there is, you know, quite a bit strain between province and region, and even they don't have data how many women and children, elderly, you know, in the a group that should be transferred. Though they mainly some of victim without gender, you know, data, gender identity. So, you know, in very small example, we can identify that there is no, you know, significant attention to the women protection and even empowerment women in a conflict.
Okay.
Just don't talk about the involvement in conflict resolution. You know? Just in the protection, they already left behind.
Thank you, Mrs. Sartika, and thank you, Mrs. Welly. A very fruitful discussion and very interesting discussion. But we are sorry that the time is up, and that conclude our session today. We already have 4 presenter presented their paper, so we are arrived in the end of our session. Thank you for the all presenter. Very insightful paper, very insightful information. There is a lot of things that we could learn from today's presentation, and there is a lot of new knowledge that I also personally learned today. So once again, I want to remind all of the participants to attend the closing ceremony of ICGCS 2021 at 50:50 this afternoon. The Zoom link can also be found in WhatsApp group ICGCS. Then don't forget to fill the attendance form, which I believe is already shared in the Zoom chat box. Once again, thank you for all of the participants. A very insightful presentation. And I, Bima Jonanda, as a moderator, I will ask my sincere apology is there is something that I speak is not in the, ibarat kalau bahasa Indonesianya, mohon maaf kalau ada bahasa saya yang salah. And finally, I will close this Zoom session with salam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for all of the participants.